Before I start today's video, I would just like to say, Jake, stop asking for your PS5 back, bro. At this point, it's harassment. But if you really want it back that badly, I have a proposal for you. I got a katana, you have a katana. Sword fight in the middle of a Denny's parking lot till one of us is shaking hands with JFK. You have 24 hours to respond. Now that that's out of the way. As usual, I'm going to recap the story first. So, if you don't want spoilers, there's a review section towards the end that might not have as many spoilers. So I'll timestamp that. Probably. We open with Pete's first day teaching at Miles' school. He finally has a 9 to 5 and doesn't have to dress in his Spidey suit and take pictures with strangers all day just to pay the bills. He's going to be financially stable for the first time since living with Uncle Ben. However, that doesn't stop Sandman from attacking the city. This should be light work, it's just Sandman. There's no reason to be scared of a man who can be taken out by a water fountain. Sandman goes down after we steal a move from Iron Man. We head back to the school where Pete gets fired because he abandoned his students. But in his defense, if the class full of gifted students couldn't find safety when the threat is to cross the river, they probably weren't going to make it in life. Even at home, things are rough for Peter. Apparently, he can beat the Sinister Six, but he can't defeat his true enemy, poverty. At the rate things are going, he's going to be looking like Peter B. Parker in no time, which is why he's been begging MJ to move in so he doesn't lose the house. They get interrupted by Harry, who's back from Europe, and he takes Pete to reminisce about their time at Midtown High, breaking in to get a hard drive, sneaking through security, Harry's mom dying. You know, the good old days. Harry offers Pete a job at the Emily May Foundation, and the newly unemployed man with $500,000 in debt says he'll have to think about the 6-figure job he was just offered. Miles and Peter guard a prison convoy, which ends with Miles causing Martin Lee and the Scorpion to escape. So about as well as the last convoy they guarded, but this time the villains get captured by Kraven and the Hunters. Miles meets up with Uncle Aaron, who says he's done being the Prowler, but I don't think that's an option for him anymore. He's got at least 3 felonies, so getting a 9 to 5 won't be that easy. And with New York rent prices the way they are, he's going to have to resort to thievery sooner or later. Harry shows Pete around the Emily May Foundation, which is his chance to finally get out of poverty, and he's going to get to work with his best friend, doing what he loves, saving the world, and you already know none of that is going to happen. Come on, this is Spider-Man we're talking about. The writers can never let him be happy. Pete sneaks through a hunter base and finds out that half the Sinister Six got Uncle Ben off screen. And Black Cat might be next, so we send Miles to warn her. But she was about to flee the city anyways, so there was no point in this mission, other than her saying she has a girlfriend, who I'm 95% sure doesn't even exist. Come on, she used the excuse every guy in middle school used. Oh, well, you don't know my girlfriend because she's in another country. I'm willing to bet my long-distance Canadian girlfriend is about as real as Felicia's girlfriend. We go to Coney Island to celebrate Harry recovering from whatever his mother's bad genes gave him when the Hunters attack. And say what you will about what Martin Lee and the Demons did last game, at least they had the decency to only attack City Hall and Oscorp. The Hunters are crossing a line here. Thankfully, they're only here to capture Tombstone. Unfortunately, we may have to sacrifice a couple civilians. But Harry comes in for the save with his black tentacle arms. He explains that going to Europe was code for undergoing sketchy treatment. The next day, we train Harry by raiding a hunter base. He was a little aggressive at first. He may have paralyzed a random hunter by uppercutting him into a barrel, but he's got the right spirit. We save Tombstone and get a call from MJ, who got herself kidnapped while spying on the Hunters. She finds Dr. Connors just in time to see him get injected with the lizard serum. Harry and Pete show up to handle the situation, then Kraven just casually one-shots one of the title characters. Pete, you have to walk it off, don't leave me like this. I don't want to play through the rest of the game as Clark Kent's mother in the Walking Adidas advertisement. Luckily, Harry's suit attaches to Pete and patches up the giant hole in his stomach. Harry's dying again since the suit that was keeping him alive left him and refuses to go back. But we can worry about that later. Right now, we go spy on the Hunters to find a cure for the lizard. We find Kraven and yank the lizard serum from him and head back to Emily May to reverse engineer a cure. Before we can finish it, the Hunters appear and run through Emily May. We get the cure, but the Foundation might need a little work. That doesn't matter, Norman will pay for it. The next day, Miles is on a date with Haley when Pete calls him up saying he needs help finding the lizard. And the double standards in this scene are crazy. When Miles tells a girl he's Spider-Man, she understands and is supportive. But when I do it, I need a therapist because I'm mentally deranged. We chase the lizard around the East River, but he escapes. Pete leaves to fight the lizard on his own, blaming Miles for him getting away. And you know, he's got a point. How dare that sick bastard worry about the civilians? Just look at them. I'm starting to wonder if this city is even worth saving. After a wild reptile chase across the city, we manage to corner and cure Connors. He says the suit is an alien symbiote Oscorp found from a meteorite a few years back, and that the suit is dangerous and needs to be destroyed. But Pete goes back to the house he's probably gonna lose soon to get some sleep. The hunters swarm the place and Pete starts sleep fighting every hunter within a 10-mile radius. Miles shows up to keep the hunters busy while MJ pisses off the symbiote that just took down a small army. Miles gets kidnapped, and a few hours after almost offing his girlfriend, Pete goes to visit Harry, who starts complaining about how he desperately needs the suit back. He's literally dying or whatever. I swear, some people are so dramatic nowadays. Look at Miles. He woke up and was thrown into a death match against Martin Lee, and do you hear him complaining? No. Miles frees Lee so he can go get Pete, which is probably a bad move, because that means he gets left alone with Kraven. And with that look Kraven is giving him, he's probably going to be walking a little funny by the time he gets out. Pete shows up and is about to off Kraven before Miles interferes, causing some spider-on-spider violence to break out. Insomniac really missed the opportunity to have Peter go full Christian Cage on Miles. Just imagine mid-fight you hear,
"But here's the thing, Jungle Boy. I never wanted to be your father. I never wanted to be your father figure. You have a father. But your father's dead."
Miles gets the symbiote off Peter, who is conveniently wearing his old suit. He's worn nothing but the symbiote for like a week. He should be standing there with his other web shooters hanging out. We take the symbiote to have it be destroyed when Harry menacingly hobbles out of the corner. He reattaches with the symbiote, and just like that, problem solved. Harry isn't dying anymore, so now we can heal the world together. Bring it in, best buddy. Harry slashes the Oscorp security budget by sending half the security team to go meet Aunt May. He escapes from Oscorp and finds Kraven, who he uses as a human Sour Patch Kid, which surprises him. Like he wasn't just cracking spines and playing human whack-a-mole. Harry starts healing the world by attaching symbiotes to anyone he can find. And Miles just so happens to specialize in the symbiote's one weakness: trash music beats. Harry shows up to May's house and attaches the symbiote to MJ, who refuses to listen to reason. So, in order to free her, we have to settle things the Hank Pym way, with a stiff right hand. After beating some sense into MJ, we go to City Hall with Miles to clear out a bunch of symbiotes, but they get overrun. Not even the world's worst music beats were strong enough to save them. But Martin Lee is, and he saves Miles. However, Pete is about to get resymbioticized. Lee says that the only way to save him is to double team him from the inside, which ends with Lee losing his powers and Pete getting the anti-venom suit. Now that he's powerless, Martin goes to travel the world. Or reach for that officer's gun in the background, I don't know. He said something about it being taxpayer property before he ran off. Venom steals the meteorite from Connors' lab, which means New York is fucked. Miles shows off his new suit, and the suit is as bad as his beats. Why would Rio let him leave the house like that? I made a better suit when I was 5 with nothing but the clothes in my closet and a $5 swap meet mask. It would have looked better if he dressed up in one of those hoodies that every kid in 2nd grade used to wear. While Pete is fighting for his life in a tunnel filled with symbiotes, Miles goes to hit on the deaf girl. Bro, Miles, now is not the time. The city needs you. I can't even get mad at him. I'm just impressed he managed to pull in that fit. Venom willingly gives Pete the location of the meteorite, so we set up a plan to end this once and for all. MJ rushes the symbiote nest to steal the meteorite, while Peter keeps Venom busy by getting used like a human basketball for 10 minutes. By the time he realizes the meteorite's gone, Miles and MJ are almost ready to destroy it. There's no chance he makes it to Emily May in time. Nah, that's bullshit. The suit couldn't do that for me? Pete gets defeated despite wearing a literal anti-venom suit, so now it's Miles' turn to fight Venom, and his lungs get punctured straight away. Venom tries taking the meteorite, but gets treated like a JJK villain. We destroy the meteorite along with most of the other symbiotes, and Harry dies. But Miles brings him back from the dead, right into a coma. Norman prepares another experimental treatment to cure Harry, because that worked out so well the first time around. The game ends with Pete taking a well-deserved break from being Spider-Man, so he leaves the city to Miles. What's the worst that could happen? Now that it's been a month since the game dropped and I've let recency bias clear from my head, I can honestly say the game is a solid 9. There's 2 issues keeping me from giving it a 10, those being the dual protagonists and the lack of side content. I feel like what made the other games so good is seeing their individual struggle. Like in the first game, you see Peter getting evicted, slowly seeing his mentor descending into insanity, and losing May. Then in Miles Morales, seeing Miles step out of Peter's shadow, trying to find out what kind of hero he wants to be, all while finding out his uncle is a criminal and his former best friend is a villain. Those are just a few points that made you invest and care about the characters. Don't get me wrong, they do have some great moments in this game, But the real issue is that the screen time is split between both of them, so now instead of one really well written character, you get two kinda good characters. Onto the side content. There simply isn't enough. I don't mean that in a good way of, wow, I wish there was more. No, I finished the story, and then like 2 or 3 hours later, I had the game platinumed. Like really? I spent a week's worth of food on a game that I 100%ed in 4 days? It just left me a bit underwhelmed. But to be fair, I'd rather have less quests than run through all the bases from last game again. Enough of that, let's focus on the good, which is everything else. I could probably make a video solely talking about how they improved everything else, but I'll try to keep it short. The traversal is easily my favorite out of all the Spider-Man games I've played. It's no longer just web swinging. You can web zip, swing, fly, slingshot yourself, do loop-de-loops. I never once fast traveled because of how fun it was to just swing there instead. As for the combat, they did a great job at making Miles and Peter feel unique with their own powers and abilities. Even the UI changes a little depending on who you play as. And I had fun with Miles, but the symbiote gameplay is some of the best since Web of Shadows. Screw the Doc Ock arms Peter had in the beginning. With a black suit, you feel unstoppable, just performing takedown after takedown. They even went the extra step of adding cracking sounds later on to really add to the impact of it. The story is good, but they should have had more Venom, especially with how much he was marketed. But the last act of the game makes up for it, seeing another Web of Shadows scenario play out. It was so nostalgic since that's one of the first Spider-Man games I've played, so going through the last few hours made me feel like I was a kid again. I really want to play through Web of Shadows again now, so I might make a video on that. I don't know, we'll see. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to attend a business meeting at a Denny's parking lot. So, subscribe, or not. Either way, I'm head out.